Handwriting analysis is a tool that's used to find out about someone's personality characteristics via the way they write, based on writing slants, sizes, pressure, and the spaces they leave between their words. There are many TV shows that uses handwriting analysis like NCIS, First 48, even CSI, just to name a few. They use this when they're conducting thorough investigations by examining ransom notes, suicide notes, threatening notes. By using handwriting analysis, this makes it a little easier to find potential suspects in a crime. So imagine yourself writing a letter to someone you just met, and in response they tell you that they know a few things about your personality based on your style of writing. You will probably be thinking to yourself, how is it possible for this person to know anything about you or your personality just by looking at how you write? Today I'll be talking about handwriting analysis. I'm going to tell you how someone's personality characteristics can be determined via the way they write, based on their writing slants, the sizes, pressure, and the spaces between their words. Handwriting analysis, or graphology, is a science involved in producing a personality profile of the writer by examining the characteristics, the traits, and strokes of an individual's handwriting. I know it seems impossible, but a trained graphologist can gather an astonishing amount of information about the writer just from analyzing their handwriting. Let's start by discussing one of the characteristics used in handwriting analysis that is used to determine someone's personality based on the way they slant their words when they write. Slanting in writing indicates the writer's emotional response to external forces. A right slant signals one who responds strongly to emotional situations. They're caring, warm, and outgoing. Their heart rules their mind. A vertical slant writer tries to keep their emotions in check, and their mind rules their heart. A left slant writer will conceal their emotions and is observed as more cold and indifferent. Looking at the visual aid, this shows the top, someone who slants to the right when they're right. The second one is an example of someone who has vertical slants, or straight up and down. And the one under that is someone who writes to the left. And the one in the bottom is just a mixture. Just an example of how different slants look. Now that you know how the writer slants their words and letters contributes to their personality because of their emotional response, I will now show you how the size of a writer's words are used to determine their personality as well. The size in words is used in handwriting analysis to determine the writer's ability to concentrate. Small writing points to someone who has the ability to concentrate to minor details for longer periods of time. They're not easily distracted by outside forces, and they like to work alone and can be trusted on tedious tasks. These writers include like your scientists, your researchers, even bookkeepers. Now, the average writing person, which is most of us, indicates an average ability to concentrate. We have to force ourselves sometimes to concentrate on minor details for long periods of time. Whereas those who have large writing, they're easily distracted and they have trouble concentrating and easily get off track. Looking at this visual aid is actually an example of one of the famous scientists, Albert Einstein, his handwriting. And his writing is so small. With some of the things he wrote, you actually would have to use a magnifying glass to be able to read what he wrote. Although the size of a writer shows the different handwriting analysis which is used to determine the personality characteristics, the most important factor of the personality of the writer is the writer's emotional energy, because it has a direct impact on every other trait displayed in handwriting. Writing pressure is used in handwriting analysis to determine the emotional energy of the writer. Writers with heavy pressure, they're usually highly successful. They have a lot of vitality, and their emotional experiences last for a long time. Now, writers who write with an average pressure are usually moderately successful and usually have enough energy just to make it through the day. Whereas writers who write with those who write with a light pressure try to avoid energy draining situations. And looking at this visual aid, it shows the different types of writing pressure. The top is the heavy, the middle is your average, which is most of us, and your bottom is your person who writes very light, which is tend to be kind of hard to see. Now that you know how the writing pressure tells you about a person's emotional energy when using handwriting analysis, the amount of space that a person leaves between words is also used during handwriting analysis. The space in between words shows a person's preference when it comes to being around other people in crowds. Your compressed spacing between your words or your close spacing shows that an individual needs to be close to others or they like crowds. Now, your average spacing between words shows that the individual feels comfortable being in contact with others. Whereas those who leave wide spaces between their words, it shows that they tend to avoid people and contact with people, and they tend to have problems dealing with others. Looking at this visual aid, it's actually a writing from Ted, one of the Unabombers, well, the Unabomber living there in Montana, who actually lived in a deserted little cabin. It's a letter he wrote to one of his co-workers who hired him and told him he would get paid a certain amount and, you know, do different types of jobs, but he actually got hired and it wasn't what he was told. So he was a little upset. But as you can see, the spacing between the words are very wide. They're not like your average amount of space between. Now that you know how the amount of space that a writer leaves between their words is used in handwriting analysis to determine a person's personality, I'll remind you of how someone's personality characteristics can be determined through handwriting analysis. Today I've given you information and shown you examples of how someone's personality characteristics can be determined based off the way they slant their words and letters when they write. I also gave you information on how someone's writing sizes, the writing pressure, and the spaces between their words tell some things about the writer when using handwriting analysis. Finally, I showed you writing examples that related to the information, which is looked at during handwriting analysis to determine a person's personality characteristics. Hopefully, you were able to understand how you can tell a few things about a person's personality via the way they write using handwriting analysis.